Urban Chat of the Year. My name is Molly Conley. I'm the director here at Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District. We're happy to have you all here and to be able to continue to provide this information virtually. So we hope you enjoy this little lunch hour chat. Topic, stormwater control measures, approval process. These are the post-construction stormwater measures here in Warren County. We are going to be recording this presentation. We'll send those links out when we have them recorded. And if you would, please keep your microphones on mute and your camera off. And we mostly will be sharing the presentations on your screen there. So please let us know if you can't see those. I'll be monitoring the chat box. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box and I'll compile all those and we'll ask them to our presenters probably at the end. Without further ado, we'll get started. We have Beth Wilson here. She works for Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District. She is our Urban Program Coordinator. She has her bachelor's degree from Wittenberg University in Environmental Science and over 8 years of stormwater and MS4 experience. She has worked in various MS4 programs in Springfield, Ohio, Bozeman, Montana, and Nashville, Tennessee. Our second presenter is Chuck Petty. For nearly 20 years, Chuck has been the Assistant Warren County Engineer for Drainage. He has a Bachelor's of Science degree from Brown University, a Master's degree from the University of Cincinnati, and has been a professional engineer in Ohio for over 40 years. So Beth, Chuck, take it away.
All righty, guys. Thanks for joining in today. Just kind of want to keep doing these updates and, keep everyone informed. And feel free, like I said, put questions in the box and we'll get to them at the end. So start off, just a quick little agenda. We're going to go over some of our new regulations and then also our earth disturbing permit process, the operation and maintenance documents, and then our new kind of process that Chuck and Molly and I have put together for these stormwater control measures approvals. So first, just kind of quick little reminder of where all Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District does MS4 work in Warren County. So the current standalone permits, as you can see, we have City of Carlisle, City of Franklin, City of Mason, then City of Springboro and City of Middletown both have their own MS4 permits, but the county, our Soil and Water Conservation District currently does not have a working agreement with those two. And then Deerfield Township, and then we have our Warren County co-permittees, and then City of Lebanon. So then just a reminder of who all our co-permittees are. So Clearview Township, Franklin Township, Hamilton Township, Mayville, Morrow, South Lebanon, Turtle Creek, and then Union. And we do all the MS4 work in those townships or municipalities here at the Soil and Water Conservation District and the engineer's office. And then we do have working agreements where we do provide the MS4 services with City of Mason and Deerfield Township, City of Lebanon, Franklin, and Municipality of Carlisle. So some of the things that we do and that we are working with them to do is we review the SWIPs, perform monthly site inspections, and then we assist with enforcement needs. And then we also do provide the earth disturbing permit through our office, which I will go into further details, I believe, the next slide or two. So we do have new regulations here in the county. It was passed November 10th of 2020. And just kind of a reminder that those are up on our website. I pulled some excerpts that we'll be going over later. So just reminder of that. And then here's just some of the regulations in those other municipalities that hold MS4 permits. Just reminding you that everyone kind of requires these and that stormwater is important. And then one of the things that they all have in common is they all follow the standards set forth in the Ohio EPA General Construction Permit. And so kind of going over that in some of our executions with them and then with our municipalities as well. So then this is just a quick slide. Most of you guys are pretty familiar with it, but just a reminder of how to obtain an earth disturbing permit in the county. submit full construction plans and a SWIP to us, and then also the engineer's office or whatever local municipality that you plan on working in. You want to submit your SCM operation and maintenance documents to municipality engineer, and that's what we're really going to focus on the rest of the presentation. Show us your NOI verification, your Ohio EPA NOI verification, any environmental assessments that were done on the site, if applicable. We do have an earth disturbing permit application. It's a little one-pager that you can find on our website. Then your fee, if you're in an area that does require an earth disturbing permit fee. And then, you know, continue to work with us and whatever engineer or municipality you're in for approval on all items. And then once everything's approved, everything's been accepted, then you can start the work. So part of our plan reviews, just a standalone document. We try to do a 2-week turnaround that includes any and all communication. We do use the Ohio EPA SWIP checklist, and then we may request environmental assessments. I try to do those at the forefront if I believe that there's some kind of environmentally sensitive area on the site. And then the engineer's office, they review post-construction stormwater management, and that includes the operation and maintenance documents we'll be discussing. And then again, you can't obtain the permit until all of this is approved. So some of our updated regulations, I need to. Okay. So a lot of this is from the post-construction section. So just kind of our permit requirements. One of the things I really pulled out that all stormwater treatment practices shall have an enforceable operation and maintenance agreement to ensure systems function as designed. So any maintenance easements, and then in addition, any legally binding covenants specifying the parties responsible for proper maintenance of all stormwater treatment practices shall be secured. So just kind of that reminder that with these operation maintenance documents, it's not just how you're going to maintain them, but who's going to maintain them, and just how the long-term operations and maintenance is going to be set forth. And then also, it's similar language is reflected in the Ohio EPA general construction permit. Kind of pull this out. So maintenance plan should be provided by the permittee to post-construction operation of the site. This section, I used to have the page memorized, but it's got good information about what all should be in these operation and maintenance documents. And then the next page is kind of extended. So just kind of a reminder, any necessary legal binding maintenance easements and agreements need to be included in these operation and maintenance documents. And then probably should have put this in sooner, but we are kind of improving our language and acronyms here at the county. I mentioned this in my urban update newsletter that went out earlier this month. When it comes to these post-construction stormwater measures, we're trying to call them SCM. So that's your basins, proprietary devices, bioretention, instead of just calling them BMPs, because BMPs is such a broad term that kind of encompasses so many things. So we want to try to be more specific when we're talking about them and calling them stormwater control measures. And a lot of other municipalities are starting to call them this. So Warren County's getting, I guess, hip with the times and stormwater language, and trying to refer to these post-construction controls more as SCMs than BMPs. Next slide. All right, so now I'm going to kind of go over what all should be included in the operation maintenance documents, and kind of going over the different bulletins that are laid out in the general construction permit. So these will all be submitted and approved to the engineer's office. So typically Chuck will take all this information in. I'm just going to kind of go over what all needs to go in them here today. And Chuck will also chime in occasionally. So first one, we need a designated entity. So this is kind of a good example of one that's been submitted to us. I try to black out and keep some anonymity. So basically you want to make sure that we're pointing out who's responsible for these the long-term maintenance and operations. So typically an HOA, sometimes if the property is owned by, say, a corporation or industrial facility, then kind of that can be who's included to keep the long-term maintenance of this control measure. And just kind of make sure that you show everything. And then next part, you want like maintenance tasks, so the things that need to be maintained and how often. It can be as simple as the schedule. Typically, you want the orifices checked, make sure that no debris is built up. I've seen some down in Nashville where trees grew right in the outlet structure and weren't allowing any water through, and it was supposed to be a dry one. So make sure that whoever takes the long-term responsibility knows what to check for, how often to inspect it for, and how to maintain it. Construction drawings, so just typical what the orifice and outfall structure should look like, the different elevations. Chuck can probably go into a little more depth if you guys have any questions on this later. And then a map or plat. So the map in these documents should also include any and all easements that are associated with the control measure. What else? Oh, yeah, so pretty much any easements, and then where exactly the measure is located on site, and any other important information that whoever takes the care of these knows when they look at it. And then easements and agreements. So one of the things that we will be requiring is that they be recorded along with the deed. Basically, we want whoever, sometime down the line, someone buys this property, that they know that these control measures are on site and that they are required to maintain them and inspect them on a regular basis. So that's just a snapshot from a draft plat, just kind of showing some of the responsibilities and making sure that those are being recorded. And then this is just a reminder from the general construction permit as well, the signatory requirements that anything that's submitted, any certifications, slips, that they need to be signed by the responsible owner of the property. That's just something that's been missing sometimes on some of the documents submitted to us. And then that's it for my section. Chuck's going to go a little bit further details about how to get these SCMs approved in our county when you're wrapping up construction and you want to be done with us bugging you and inspecting and everything's finishing up. So I will pull that up while Chuck gets ready to talk. Oh, I forgot one last thing. I'm sorry, guys. One of the things also, we'll go back to this. So an example, we do have an example. Oh, I had it pulled up. Oh, there we go. Wrong link. Sorry, guys. So this is kind of what we expect to be recorded with the deeds. We do have an editable copy of this I can provide if asked. It's kind of just an inspection, maintenance, and agreement. It has different sections, just kind of make sure that people know, the landowner or whoever is responsible for the long-term maintenance knows, and that it's recorded on the deed. There's various sections, and then so this will be included in your operation maintenance documents, as well as how to maintain and operate this SCM. And then it does have a spot to sign it at the bottom. Alrighty. And I will turn it over to Chuck.
Hi, I'm Chuck Petty, Warren County Engineer's Office. For the, since 2003, our detention basins have been given their final approval by using an as-built survey process, and that remains the same. What we've added is a form, so if we could have the next slide, Beth. There's the form. So this is the new form.
Chuck, I think you froze. Sorry about that, guys. Is Chuck frozen or is he dropped off the call?
Beth, I believe Chuck is having some technical difficulties. So as he tries to get back on, if you could keep going through his slides, that would be great.
I'll try my best. So one of the things we have put together is a stormwater control measure approval form. So these will be filled out at the beginning for each SCM that will be on site. So it's a pretty simple form, just your project name, what section or phase it's in, where it's located. Oh, Chuck is back. I started going over a bit.
Every time I get an email, I get knocked off.
Oh no.
Anyway, I don't know. The good news is this form will be filled out by me. So you don't have to, or anybody that has a stormwater control measure doesn't have to worry about this form, except at the very end, we'll be looking for a signature. So if we could go to the next slide, Beth. I think that might be where I talk about WCEO will fill out the form. These items 2, 3, and 4 will be appended to the form, and maybe we'll go to the next slide. That'll catch us back up. So your O&M manual, once it's been approved by the Warren County Engineer's Office, we're going to you are going to record it at the Warren County Recorder's Office so that the O&M document is attached to the deed or made such that any future owner of the property will be aware of the O&M requirements. We'll go to the next one, please. So our as-built drawing is the same as it's always been for the past 17 years. Don't know if I was going to cover anything else. I think our next slide details what we need in the as-built drawings. Oh, one thing we did want to mention there is that don't perform your as-built survey until the temporary sediment control measures have been removed. I've seen that happen somewhat recently, in that we get as-built, go out and verify something and find out that the skimmer is still in place. So that has to be removed. And before you remove it, Beth has to approve its removal. So our record plan information requirements here are part of our old regulations and have now been incorporated into our stormwater design manual, which is going to pop up on our website and perhaps Soil and Water's website in the near future. But the information we're looking for is the size and elevation of all the orifices, the length and elevation of all the weir crests, and a stage storage table that contains elevations at 1 foot increments and the area of each elevation and the volume at each elevation. And then we need sufficient spot elevations along the top of the embankment as well as the emergency spillway. And then finally, that document should have this certification and signature and date. Next slide, please. So if your as-built volume is less than the design volume, we may still be able to accept the basin as it is if you can demonstrate revised calculations that demonstrate that all of the stormwater regulations in effect have been met. Failing that, it may be necessary to increase the volume of the basin and resurvey it. Next slide, please. So the last piece that goes into this is a copy of your OEPA Notice of Termination, NOT. You get these the same place that you apply for your NOI. And once we have that, and that completes the permit process. So hopefully that explains the new process. We'll have to see how things go in the future. But that, unless we have some questions, that's the end of my part.
We do not have any questions in the chat yet, but feel free to just unmute your mic if you'd like to just ask a question and get an answer here.
And one thing I do want to add, so some of the MS4s that we do, we have working agreements with, such as City of Mason and City of Lebanon. They have, City of Lebanon has kind of their own process that's very similar, and I'm currently working with City of Lebanon and their engineering department to incorporate a very similar process for their SCMs. And then also a lot of the MS4s in the county that have their own MS4 permit are in the works of updating their regulations to mirror Warren County's co-permittees regulations. So be on the lookout for those. And we're trying to really make as many of the municipalities in the county have uniform regulations so that it's as close to each other as possible. They can't all be exact same just due to different, political boundaries, but working with them to try to make almost all the expectations the same, if not as close and similar as possible. Any questions? We're here to chat, talk, and kind of just be here as resources as well as regulators.
Okay, Beth, I don't see any questions in the chat, so I think we can wrap it up. And thank you everyone for attending. I guess I could turn my video on. Thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate it, and we're going to have 2 more urban chats within this year, so look for information on that. If you do think of any questions, just feel free to email Chuck or Beth and reach out to us, and we'll have all of these resources on our website and on the engineer's website. So if there's nothing else, thank you all for attending.
Thanks, everyone.